Hi everyone, welcome to today's tutorial. I know I've been erratic with these design videos, unlike last year where I tried to like do weekly design videos ahead. It's just been because I have been occupied between work and doing personal exploration, so I've not really had the time to like do all these personal explorations as much as I would, and be able to like even do videos on how to recreate them. But currently, I have been able to do something, and I think this is worth sharing. This might be a bit different from my other creative website design videos because this is more of how to like create like a interactive chat component. But I think that it's worth sharing because like there are tips and tricks that I think anyone could apply in their other prototyping attempts. So I just think it's worth sharing. So I'll show how I was able to like design and also prototype this interactive chat. So you can see as I move around the different segments, I think they're called segments. You can see that the values inside of the chat begin to change to match the particular segment which I have selected. All of this is happening on hover. Keep in mind, it's not happening while like when I don't have to click anything. It's just as I hover over that particular segment, you can see that it becomes the value inside inside of the donut chart changes, and then the value on the legend as well is this is the legend here. It's highlighted, so you can see failed is highlighted here. You have completed and also like others as well. So you have the values here changing as well in this up and down motion manner. So we're going to just do all of that today. So let's get started without much ado. So the first thing I want to do is create my Figma file. I like working in light mode for some reason. So I'm just going to make the background E4. I've already done that. So the next thing I want to do is start creating my charts. This is actually what might take the longest because, but let's just get started with it regardless. So I'm going to press O on my keyboard. O is to select like the ellipse tool. So I will just drop an ellipse on my canvas, and then I'm going to lock the proportions or constrain proportions rather. I'm sorry, it's kind of hard for me to pronounce that particular word. So yeah, I'm going to make the size 200. So while when I've done this, the next thing I want to do is to mess around with the to make the donut. So to make the donut, first of all, I have to go into the settings here, this arc settings here, and then click on it and drag upwards. Click and drag any direction really. And then once you have that, it doesn't matter what direction you drag. We're going to actually bring it back, mess around with it a lot more. So the other thing I want to do next is to make the donut. So I'm going to go to this ratio here. So once I've like messed around with the arc, I have this option here, this ratio here, to make it into a donut. So to do that, it's very easy. It's just for me to just click and then drag. So you can just tweak this thing until you're satisfied with it. So what I'm going to do is to make mine. I'm going to make it, let's say, let's do 80. Okay, I think 80 is fine. Let's do 80. And then the next thing I want to do is to make this I'm going to make the ratio 80, and then for the sweep, I think I'm going to make it mm, let me see what options the sweep has so far. Oh, that's not the sweep. Let's start. Okay, so let's do 50%. So this segment is going to take 50% of the donut chart. So here as well, for the sweep, I'm doing 50%, and then for the stats, I'm doing what do you call it? I'm doing 90 degree. So it's going to be aligned to this particular section. So when I have this done, I want to probably add a color. I think I want to add a color at this point. So let's do trusty old blue. Trusty old blue. So you can use any color for yours, but me, I like try to use colors that actually match. Let's do green. Since let's do maybe completed, failed. Let's do green, yellow, and then red, or something of the sorts. So let's do green. I think I like the green I had on this design, so I'm going to use that same green. 1DC286 is the color code. So 1DC should be yes. So I like this particular type of green. I'm going to call this at this point, I'll start like naming my elements properly. You don't need to name elements because personally, when I actually did my exploration, I didn't even bother naming anything. But then for the sake of this tutorial, I would like actually keeping things very tidy. So I'm going to name it segments. I just call segments. Let's just call it segments, really. Uh, then I'm going to duplicate it and then flip. Okay, I don't need to flip really. I can just come to the sweep here and then not the sweep. I'm going to go to start. So there's this option on the ends of the circle of the donuts. You have like this option to select the start. So I'm going to select the start here and then click and then drag to to this direction basically. So it's not forming like a full donut. However, what I want to do is to minus. Yeah, I think this is where it's really the hardest because I like keeping things very proper. Okay, let's do the stats to be the stats. I think this is start here. Yeah, this is that. I'm going to make it minus 85. So I'm going to subtract 10 because here it's currently minus 90. So I'm going to do minus. I think plus. It's going to be plus 10. Okay, so it just like leaves a gap of 10 in between this and this one. Okay, doesn't need to leave the gap. Okay, let me do plus 5 instead. So it leaves a gap of 5. I think 10 is too big. Plus 5. So I think this is the perfect size. Yours can be a donut chart without like spacing in between. That's totally fine. But me, I choose to like I like the idea of having spacing in between because it just like gives this visual representation of like division in between the two um, segments. So with that done, I'm going to minus from the sweep. I think I'm going to minus 5 as well. So there's a spacing of 5. Okay, it's not going to work. I'm going to minus 10 instead because when I added 5 to the start, it pushed some of the multi-chord segments into this other into this other circle. So if I minus 5, it's going to just stop exactly where this other circle stops. So let's do that. Let's minus 5 first. Minus 5. Nope, that's not that's not working as it should. But you know what? Let's just minus. Should we do 55? Let's see 55. 55. Okay, that's not working. Let's do 45 then. I think it's too much. I think the space. I was assuming. I was hoping the space would be properly done, but then I think at this point you have to just like eyeball things. But basically, I think I want to like do 3 segments. So I want to just use eyeball now. I don't think I want to like give I don't think I want to constrain myself to using very accurate figures because at the end of the day, this doesn't need to be really accurate. As long as you can eyeball it properly, I think it works. So I'm just going to eyeball things. You can use my values. You can copy my values when you're doing yours. But then for now, I'm just going to eyeball things because I don't think there's a way I can properly um, um, space things. So going to, I think this is fine. Or I think I'm going to like make it take a bit of here, come here a bit, and then I'm going to duplicate. I think I like round figures, so I'm going to make it 30. Nope, 30, 30%, and then Control D to duplicate it to create like a third one. So this is the third one. I'm going to I could have easily rotated it, but then it's going to like leave like this I don't know what's called this you see these lines. I don't want them being all messed up like this. So I just keep messing with the values here instead. So I've duplicated it, the third one. So I'm going to go to the start and then make the start to start from somewhere here. Again, I'm trying to like leave a space that's similar to this one here as well. So I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm not trying to be totally accurate. So let's do 30 degree. 30, I think let's do 20, 28 something. Yeah, I think this one looks closer. The spacing looks close to this one. So I'm going to, for the sweep, I'm going to reduce it and also try to make the spacing like as similar to this one as best as I can. So it doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to look good to the eyes. So 16. So I think this is okay really. Or does it look okay? I think this one is too small. I think it's too small. So I'm going to make it 15 instead. Now it's too big. So I'm going to make it 15.5, 15.5. So your values will not totally be as, will not probably be the same as mine because um, things may just vary. But then this is what I think looks good to me for now. So I'm going to work with this. So the next thing I want to do is to, so you can see that these shapes, these circles, they have like this um entire box. They have this entire bounding here. I think it's called bounding box. They have this entire bounding box, and but then the actual segments or the actual segments here, it's just this small shape here, just a small area here. But then it has this entire bounding box, which I really don't need. Why? What I could have easily done would have been to press my options and then go to probably flatten. Yeah, so you can see flatten. As I flattened it just now, the bounding box is now only covering exactly where the, what do you call it, where the segment, where the shape, active shape touches. So that's what I want to really have. But then if I do that, it means I cannot like mess around with those, and you can see that those options to change the sweep and what's not, once I flatten it, they go, and that's not really what I want, because at any point in time I want to be able to still come back and then maybe mess around with the values of this. So I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to keep it like this. However, it's a must that I must like tame the area which this shape extends to, because if I were to start prototyping, having the entire bounding box like this is going to mess things up. So what I'm going to do to solve that is going to be to frame it. So frame selection. So once I frame the selection, what I'm going to do is to hold hold command if you're using a Mac, command if you're using what's called Windows, hold control, and then click on this particular like click on the bounding box and try to like mess around with it. So what I want to do is to make sure the bounding, I want to get the bounding box to line up as closely with the shape as best as I can. So I think this doesn't have to be perfect, really. It actually does not have to be perfect, as best as you can. So yeah, I think this is fine. It doesn't have to be perfect, like I said. I could even say, okay, no, I want to leave it like this. That's totally fine. So I want to have this. Before that, even I want to even select everything, and then I want to frame them. I'm going to frame everything. So frame selection. I'm going to call selection donuts. Let me call it donuts. Okay, so inside the donuts, I have like segments. So I'm going to call this one here. I'm going to call it I don't need to give it a name, a name now. I don't need to give it a name now. Okay. So you can see that it's, I'm using segment to like tame the area that this particular shape is extending. So I can also choose to clip content, but no, I don't think I need to do that. So I'm going to click on the next circle, this one here, and then I'm going to frame it. So the shortcut to frame is Command Option or Control Alternate G. That's the shortcut to frame. So I've framed this other selection. I'm going to also do the same thing with holding Command and then dragging the bound area of the bounding box to line up as closely with where the shape extends to. I could also choose to, because if I, why I'm saying hold command is that if you're not holding command or control and you're trying to like mess it with this stuff, well, it's not messing up now. But then if I was trying to, you can see that the shape is moving around. But if I had to hold control, I could mess around with the bounding box of the shape without moving the position of the shape itself. So that's just something to keep in mind as you keep working with Figma. So I'm going to hold control or command and then make it line up with where the shape extends to as best as I can. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. So for this one, I'm going to intentionally make it stop somewhere here. So you can see that some of it is still outside of the frame, but that's totally fine. That's totally fine. This is, at the end of the day, when we want to like create our interaction, this bounding box is what we're going to like set the mouse. So what we're going to be to set as like the mouse trigger. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. So for the last one, this one, I'm going to Control Alternate G to frame it, and then I'm going to try to line up the bounding box to as best as I can to the shape. So I'm going to bring it here. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be okay. So intentionally, I'm going to intentionally not make it go all the way. So that's just it. So this is what is going to be like the mouse trigger. So let's select all of them and then call them. And I'll call them. I'm just going to rename them in batch. So to rename them in batch, I'm going to select everything, and I press Control or Command R. Oh boy, that did not work. So yeah, Control or Command R is going to show you this thing, and then I can just type my name there. So I'm going to call them. What's the word? What's the word? Mouse. Or let me call it trigger area. Trigger trigger area. Yeah. So I think that naming convention works. So these are the trigger areas. They contain the segments, the circles or the segments. Let's just call it segments, and they are inside of a frame that I'm calling choosing to call donuts. So we have this particular. You have this first one done. So the next thing I want to do is start like adding, like maybe changing. Let's say we change colors now. Let's leave color for now. So the next thing I want to do is to add text. So the text is going to be its own um, it's going to be its own element outside. So I'm going to type something. Let's type okay the total. Let's do the total here. So the total is going to be let's just 200 200 let's just write 200k. Let's 200 there. Okay. So I'm using Inter. I'm going to make it. I'm not really too keen on typography here. I'm going to make it bold. Um, bold rather. I'm going to make the size something like let's say 40 or thereabout. Does 40 look good in relation to this design? I'm trying to like size it up properly to see what looks good in relation with the design. So I'm going to do 32 instead. I think 32 looks good in relation to the design. I think the only thing I want to do is to make it probably semi-bold instead of bold. Bold is too thick. So the next thing I want to do is for the color, I think I want to copy the same color I've used for this one because it just looks good. So again, I'm not using total black. 02. So you can copy my color code while you're trying to work on yours. Okay, so yes, I think this works. And then for the colors, I am also going to reuse colors because I don't really have this tutorial is going to be really long, so I don't want to waste too much time with the color. So, but basically, how I choose colors is if I've already chosen one already that I like, and I want my other colors to actually like look the same, like have the same look and feel as this particular. What I can just do is just to click on the color selector, and then just move my slider around. So just the slider here. I'm not changing the any other value. I'm just going to move the slider around to select a color that's on the same color. Let me use the word color scale on the same hue, not color hue, not hue. It's the hue is different, but then on the same color scale as this other one I have selected. So I'm going to just slide it to something like orange. Although I think the orange version of this particular this particular green looks funny, so I'm going to actually mess around with and choose something else. So let me just copy this instead of messing around. So I'm going to have this. Okay, so I think this looks good. And then for the last one, I'm going to let's use a let's use let's use red instead. Let's use red. This is red. Okay. Okay, so I think this works. So I'm going to select all the trigger areas and then press enter to select all the segments, all the actual circles, and then what I want to do is to just make it look a bit nicer, just to round the corners. So I'm going to round the corners by pressing entering 4 in the corner radius. Okay, so I think we're starting to get somewhere. So I have my text here. I want to bring my text out of the frame again, and I want to start like um working on the text itself. So I think I want to compare this one against 28. Oh, it's 28, 28. Okay, let's reduce it a bit. So let's do 28 instead. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to trim it vertically. So there's this option here that says vertical trim. So just click on it, and then it's going to take away all these extra unnecessary spacing at the top and bottom. Do we even need the spacing? Think we might need it. Okay, let's leave it. Let's leave it. Let's leave it. Let's not do vertical trim. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to duplicate it and then write the heading here, total. So I want to make sure it's and then I want to drop it down to very small. So I think for this other one I just did something like 12, and then let me copy the gray instead because I don't have time to start messing around with the color. So 12. Okay, so I have this as the heading here, and then I don't think I really do. I want to go through the stress of doing a bottom one. Okay, let's do bottom one to show the growth. So for this growth, I'm going to think it's still 12. I think it's still 12. I think so. Yep. So it's still 12. So 12. I'm going to write minus. No, let's do plus. Let's do plus 20. Let's do 20%. Okay. So I think I'm using semi-bold here. Or medium. Let's use medium for this particular one. And then let's frame it. Let's auto layout it rather. I'm going to put in an auto layout group. And then for this auto layout group, I'm going to select this green. And here, what I want to do, no, I'm not going to select that green. I'm going to select that green, but I want to drop the, I want to like mess with the, I think, with the lightness and saturation, but I don't really have that time to start messing with it. So I'm just going to copy this one I have here as well. This is like the hardest part because I mean this is where you are like doing the design aspect. Okay, so I'm going to press fill and then add the color, enter my color there, and then I'm going to select this color for the text. So what I want to do is to round the corners. Let's do a totally rounded one. Let's do a fully rounded for tutorial. And then for the size, for the height, I'm going to set the height to let's say 24, and then the internal spacing or the horizontal part rather. So let's say something like 4. Let's do 6. And then the height, I did 24 now, not 14. Okay, I think this works. I think we're starting to get somewhere. So I'm just going to select everything and then auto layout them together. And then centralize. What are you doing? Okay, so where's the total? Why is it hiding behind? Okay, 0. So I have I've made the text into like an auto layout group. So can I just centralize here? I don't think I need to put any spacing in between them. The spacing is 0 because the big text already has some extra space at the top and bottom. So I think this is going to work for now. If I see that I need to change anything as time goes on, I'll probably edit it. But for now, I think this works. So the next thing I want to do, because if you notice this particular version here has like a when I hover over any of these segments, you can see that the text inside does not just change. It actually like moves up and down, up and down. So that's the kind of motion I still want to create for this one as well. It might take a while, but then I think the interaction is worth it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to single out this particular one here, and I am going to create a component out of it. I'm going to create a component out of it. Okay, so I'm going to call this component. I'm going to call it mid. I'm going to call it. Let's just call it data. Let's call it data. And then for this one, I'm going to call it growth. So I'm trying to name things as best as I can. So so you have that. I can delete this one, or not delete it. I can copy this one, Ctrl C, and then paste it to replace. Paste to replace. Okay. So with that done, so let's view the donut file tree again. So you can see I have the data component inside of it. And then I have like these segments, the trigger segments, or the trigger areas that contain each of the segments that they are related to. So the another thing I want to do now, it's a lot of work setting up this thing up, but then as we get to the interactive part of things, you get to see like why setting up things properly actually like is important. So the next thing I want to do is to select all these trigger areas, and then I'm going to I'm going to group them. I'm going to frame them as well. So I'm going to frame them. So I'm going to frame them. Frame selection. What do I call this one now? So I think this naming thing is actually like the hardest part for me because I struggle to like find good names for these things. So let's call this one mm, seg segment segments. Okay, let's call it segments. And then I'm going to duplicate it. So what I want to create now is I want to create like this outer segment. This outer segment you see, I want to create it. So that's why I'm duplicating it so I can mess with those values, those other ones, and then create those internal segments. So uh, I am going to select the first one. So the first one is, I can't even tell which is this. Okay, it's the red one because I can see the color here. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to select the segment itself, or I'm going to select all the segments. So to do that, I can click on the segment. I'm going to call this one outer segments. So the bottom one, call the bottom one outer segments. Okay, and then I'm going to click on the outer segments on the outer segment frame. Press enter to select the trigger areas. To select all the trigger areas instead of it. Then press enter again to select all the trigger areas. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I want to like batch resize them. So when I mean batch resize, I mean to resize all of them at once. So to do that, just to have all of them selected, all the segments selected, and then you can hold option and shift. Option and shift is to scale everything proportionally, scale all the sides proportionally of anything you have selected. I could also press K on my keyboard, and then from here, instead of doing 200, I'll probably do, let's say, 240. Let's do 240. So you can see how everything has been scaled proportionally. So with that done as well, I want to also scale I want to mess around with the I want to mess around with their ratios at the same time. So I can just come here and press 96, enter 96. So you can see how I've created the outer segments. But then I think 240 is too huge a size. I think it's too huge. What I'm going to do is press K again. K is to switch to scale mode on Figma. So I'm going to resize them to 220 instead. Yeah, I think 220 works. It's just a more nicer feel to it. Those ones are too far out from each other. So I think 220 works. So I also want to change the corner radius, the corner radii of all of them to 1. So it has like a subtle corner radius. So with this done, I could just say, okay, you know what, I want to leave it like this. But from where I got inspiration from, I think I like the fact that the outer radius were always smaller than they were always like looked smaller than the. Well, I think we should do bigger for this one because trying to make it smaller is another hassle. It's actually another hassle having to resize the sweeper and whatnot. So I think let's make it bigger for this one. Let's make it bigger for this one. So let's just be like this. So I've resized everything. I've messed around with the what do you call it, with the corner radius. I've messed around with the ratio. If you want to do yours to look like mine, you can see that the corner radius is actually like smaller. But then if I were to come here now and say I want to resize this, I have to come here to the start, move it here, and then it's just too much hassle. So let's just leave it like this. So the only thing I'm going to do is that with all of them selected, with all the outer segments selected, I want to change the opacity to 10 instead of 100 to 10. So they are all lighter shades. Is it 10? Does 10 work? Let's change it to white background. Let's change the background to white. Nah, I think 10 is too faint. So make it 15 instead. Let me check what I'm using for mine to be sure it's not that's going to show against the white background. Okay, 30. Oh, no wonder. So let's make it, instead of 15, it was 30 I was actually using on my design. So 30, so it just shows a bit. So with this done, with the donuts done, what next? What I'm thinking of what should be the ideal step forward. So I have resized my outer segments. The next thing I want to do is to create a duplicate. So whatever, even though whether or not whatever step I take next, I'm still going to arrive at the same destination. So let's just start something. So I'm going to select all the segments. You can select all the segments by selecting the outer segments frame, clicking enter to select all the trigger areas, clicking enter to select all the segments that are inside as well. So I'm going to, in this version, I'm going to scale all of them down to 200. No, not 200. I'm going to make them even smaller to, let's say, 180. Oh boy, no, not 180. I'm going to scale them by pressing K on my keyboard, And then coming to the height, since I've locked all the proportions before, it's going to scale everything proportionally. So I'm going to press 180. So it's going to scale them. So you can see how they've been scaled down. So I think this works. So you have like the version where they have the outer radius pronounced, and then the version where the outer radius is actually inside. So for the one where they're inside, I think there was one step I forgot to do, which is here I want to turn the opacity down to 0. So the opacity down here will be 0. Okay. Okay. So yes, will be 0 on the ones where they're shrunking. That when they're shrunking down to 180, I have the opacity set to 0, and then here I have the opacity set to 30. So I think we're good to start creating the legend. So the next thing we want to do is to create a legend. So what you mean by a legend is just this information here that interprets like what you're seeing on the chart itself. So without much ado, let's get to that. I think to do that we have to, okay, we don't necessarily have to. We can just create them standalone elements. So to do that, I'm not going to, I think I'm just going to copy the file, copy this particular one here. So I'm going to copy and paste. Although, because the fonts I'm using are different, I'm going to change fonts. So what I want to do, you know what, let's create from scratch so you can actually like see how my whole process goes. So I'm going to create a rectangle. Here, I'm going to make it I think I should have left this thing so I could use it as reference. Okay. Okay, I'm going to create a rectangle. 16, select this color here. So because I didn't create like color styles for it, which is why I'm actually doing like the color, using the color picker to select stuff. If not, if I would have just been using my color style to select stuff. So I'm going to make this 16 by 16. I'm going to round it by 4. Okay, so it has like a rounded feel, because I mean I'm adding rounded corners to all these other things, so might as well just continue here. So I think I also want to even come to this component here and then mess around with the roundedness of this one. I don't want it totally rounded, I want it like semi-rounded. So let's do 4 as well. 6, let's see 6. Okay, I think 6 has a nice feel to it. So you can see that as I've changed it here, it affects all these other ones as well. So let's even do 8 and see. It's turn around. Okay, I think it works. It just has like the nice, has this nice feel to it. So yeah, I have this done, and the next thing I want to do is to write my text. So my text is, I'm just going to copy this one really. Copy. So it's a 14 pixels text. You can use any size you want, any size that looks good in relation to the design. So 14 pixel. I'm going to change the font to Inter. Okay, so I'm going to select both of them and then auto layout them. So Shift A to auto layout, and then centralize, align left. So this particular option here is what I'm selecting, and then spacing is going to be 4. So I think I read it somewhere about space things in multiple, space and size things in multiples of 4, 4, 4. If 4 does not work, go to add 4 to it, make it multiple 8. If 8 doesn't work, 12 from 8, 12, 16, and so on and so forth. Keep adding 4 until you reach it desired size. So you can see this one spacing here is 8. So here I'm going to change mine to 8 as well. Spacing between this and that, 8. So I'm going to copy this text now, or copy this text really. So this text here, I'm going to change them to Inter instead of graphic that they're currently on. So this one Inter, and then this one Inter as well. Okay, so you can see I have the percentage here. The percentage, I'm not using actual numbers, but here I think we have to edit because this is total number. So we have to, or let's change the total number to 1.2 m, 1.2.4 m. Okay. Okay, so let's do that. And here the computer is going to take the so and so amount of details. So here, what did I call this one? Legend details. Okay. So I'm not using a proper name. I'm just naming anything as it comes to me. So I'm going to select both of them. I have this one, 14 pixels as well, but then it's a medium, or let's do semi-bold instead, so it's like more pronounced. And then this one, which is a regular, inter-regular, then it's the gray I'm using for this one. Yeah, it's the same gray I'm using for that one. So yeah, I'm going to select both of them, and then I'm going to auto layout them as well. And the space between them is going to be like, let's do let's just do anything really, because it's not going to matter. The space in between them is not going to matter at the end of the day, because I'm going to okay, let's do it from now. So align center, and then press X on your keyboard, or come here and press this option and press space. So it's going to set it to auto. So auto means as I resize it, the space is just going to be determined by how the size of the frame, or the width of the size of the frame, the width or the height of the frame. So as I'm sizing, the space is always set to auto, and it's always pushing the things an equal distance apart from each other. So that's what it means. So I'm going to duplicate this, duplicate it into 3 places. Then click on this color here, select this one, click on this one, select this one. So I'm going to call this one field. Okay, I'm going to call this one cancelled. Okay, so cancelled. Do I have a better word or something? Let's do returned. I don't want I don't want the same next line to start with C, completed, cancel. No, I want something like a different starting text. So for the values, I'm just going to copy these values again. Like I said, I'm not really caring about the accuracy of the data on my table, but then when you're doing yours, you can choose to be accurate. That's totally fine. So I'm going to copy data, paste it here. Okay, so I think I'm good to go. So I want to do is I want to select everything. I'm going to rename them and call them legend data. Okay, I'm going to now auto layout them and then call this one legend. Okay, so I think I'm good. And then spacing between them, I want to make it 24 or 16. I think 24 is too much. 16 or 20. 20 is just right. Okay, so you can see all this 20, all the spacing. I'm spacing things in multiples of 4. If you divide multiple 20 by 4, it's going to work. So basically, I just apply that logic in everything I do. When I'm sizing things and spacing things as well, I size and space in multiples of 4, 4, 4, 4. So yeah. So because I've set all these items, okay. Next thing I want to do is, since I auto layout, this doesn't really matter, but then just because like proper use of auto layout, so I'm going to click on the legend and then press enter to select all the legend data, and then set the width behavior to fill container. So what it means is that as I resize the container of the legend, you can see that the stuff inside are resized, and because I've set the spacing to auto before, as I resize, the spacing between them is just automatically like spaced, and then they are each put at the end of the frame. So that's just something to keep in mind. So with this done, I think I can actually start merging stuff together. I can merge this one together with this one. So what I want to merge is actually this one here. I'm thinking, do I need to at this point create a component? I think I should. Like, I'm trying to think of a better way to implement this one against how I actually did it on mine. So a more efficient way rather. So let's remove this first. Okay, let's remove this first. Okay, delete them even tough. Okay, and then we have donuts, and then you have the what's it called, main segment. Let's call this one main segment. Let's call it main segment. So I'm thinking of a more efficient way to do this before I even mesh all the elements together, the legend, donut, and the data. I want to create them as individual components, so I can actually mess with them outside of the design and then make my changes. So let's delete this. So this is our legend here. This is the donut. Let's call it donut. Let's make separate of them and then rename and then call it donut charts. Okay, so I call this one main segments, and then I call this one I'm starting messing this up. Okay, I called this one the inner ones, I call them main segments. So these are the main segments. The outer segments are obviously these ones that have like the faint color and stuff. So I am going to do the same here as well. Call this one main segments. Okay, so that's done. Main segment, outer segment. So yeah, I want to create this as a component. I want to create it as a component set really. So I'm thinking of the best way approach to go with it. Okay, I'm going to leave this one outside, but I'm going to create a version of this here, and then this version here, I'm going to have just one of the segments that's active. So to do that is just to hold, because I like holding a control and command to select into like a frame. So if you typically want to select, you have to keep clicking until you select a segment. But then if you're holding command or control, it just keeps all the frames and then select into what you want to select exactly. So that's a shortcut I use when working. So what I want to do now is that here I want to make it so that it's only this what do you call it? It's only this green segment that's active and the other ones are deactivated. So what I'm going to do is just select the other ones, hold control or command, and then select the red one as well. I'm holding shift and control so I can select multiple items. So if you're holding shift makes you able to makes it possible that you can select like multiple items. So I have selected the red and yellow one, and then I want to press 1 on my keyboard. So 1 is just going to make them drop the opacity down to 10. So you can also come here and press 10 to make it so that they are deactivated. So what I want to do now is I want to copy this segment from the outer segment. I want to copy this green outer segment. Or let's do it manually. Let's just delete this one instead. Let's just delete it, because if I want to start copying and pasting, it might take a while. So I'm going to go to the outer segment here, and then try to select the one for the green segment, and then scale it up to 220. Press K on the keyboard, and then press enter 220 here, and then turn the opacity up to 30. So I will just press 3 on my keyboard, so you can see the opacity has been turned up to 30. So that's just how I want to create the first one, and then the second one, create this one again. So do the same thing for the other circle. So I'm going to select the green one, select the red one, and then I'm going to press 1 on my keyboard to set the opacity down to 10. And then here I'm going to go to outer segments and then try to find the segments for that red one. So you can see it's selected. I'm going to turn it up to 220. Nope, not like that. Press K on keyboard, come here, and then enter 220. Okay, so it scales up properly, and then I can press 3 on my keyboard to bring the color up to 30%. So you can see the opacity here has been brought up to 30%. So the same thing for the red one as well. Okay, select both of these ones, turn it down to 1, that's 10, and then look for the corresponding segments for that red one, and then I'm going to scale it up. Okay, press K, 220 here, press 3 on my keyboard to bring the color up to the opacity up to 30%. So with this, I've created like all the different possible states that this particular donut chart can actually take. So I'm going to select all of them, and then come here to component options, press this button, this drop down here, and then set to create component set. So yes, create component set. So with that done, I think we're good. So what we're going to like give them their proper name. So this is like a default. We're going to come here. Okay, let's click on this. Click on the entire donut chart and change this property title here to state. You don't really have to do this, but then I want to just try and be proper with my file organization. So I'm going to click on this one. It's default. Click on this one here, and then change it to let's call it what's the name again? Let's call it completed. Okay, completed. So here I'm going to change to returned. Okay, and then this one we're going to call this one field. Okay, so we're good to go with this particular donut chart now. So the next thing we want to do is for the legend. Would you not have been better? I would feel like it probably would have been better to like do this as a component group, but then let's just keep going. let's just keep going the way we've started. Okay, so the next thing I want to do now is to do the same for the legend as well. So I want to create three states for it. The state where it's everything is active, the state where some are active. So I'm just going to create three versions of it. So here I'm going to turn on the opacity for the rest. Lucky, the good thing is that we don't have to like do any funny interaction for this one. So we'll just turn down the opacity to 10 for the other text to 10. Okay, 10 and then 10. So you have all these versions of the legend, and you can select everything and then create a component set. So here you're going to call this one default, obviously. Here we're going to call it completed. I feel like this is a longer route. It would have been easier to do the way I personally did it myself, but then regardless, we've already started this way, so let's just continue. So default, and I feel like this one is actually more scalable when you want to like, start making like micro changes. So returned, and then this one, which is field. Okay, so we have our donut chart, we have our legend. So for this one, what we're going to do really is to create like for the text, we're going to create something for it. So what we want to do first is this one here we want to frame it. I want to frame this particular one here. I'm going to click on it and press frame selection. Is it frame selection? No, let's auto layout it instead. Tricky. Okay, let's auto layout it. So Shift A. And make sure that when you're making it an auto layout group, you are going to set the height to fixed height. There's a reason why I'm doing that. So set it to fixed height. And then for the what do you call it? For the width, let's do fill container. Let's do fill container for the width. So yeah. So for this, this is okay. So we don't need to make any drastic change to the other ones. So we're just going to create a. Do I need to create it now? I think I should have broken it up. Okay, so I'm going to create a duplicate of it. I don't think I should have created it, made it a component at this point. Or I still can do that. I still can. So what I just need to do is come here and press plus on the component to add a variant. So I'm going to add a variant. So here I can start creating like changes to the variants. So what I want to do is to also press plus auto layout here, so I can make changes to the difference. So here I'm going to rename this text to completed to show the completed state. And then I'm still coming to this. I'm still coming to that one. Oh, should I do that now? I think I should start doing it now, so I don't have to come back and then start making those changes again. So what I want to do is to duplicate here. I'm going to duplicate this text 1, 2. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to make like 3 versions of it. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like create. You see that here, once I hover over any section, the text like goes up and down. Like some of them go away, and then a new one comes to take its place. So that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to create that effect here. So I think what I'm going to do is create it outside. Okay, let's do it. Let's create it outside. So I'm just going to create a duplicate of it, and then I'm going to call this one main value. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to align everything downwards. You don't need to make this how do I put it off? You don't need to make this an auto layout, but then I'm doing that because it just helps me arrange things faster. So I think I'm still going to even lose the auto layouts, but for now let's just continue. So we have the total value here. I'm going to have the value for the completed, and then the value for the return, and then for the field as well. So for the value for the completed, I'm going to copy from here, Control C, and then paste it here. The value for the returned, copy it here. I'm going to paste it here. The value for the field, copy here, and then paste it here. And then for the auto layouts group, I'm going to make sure that everything is aligned centrally. Okay. So what I want to do again to also like take it a step further is to shrink all these ones, because Because it's one thing to have them just like sliding, but then if you were to slow this direction down really, you see that it's not just going up, it's also like shrinking down. So that's just a small like nice detail here to that I added to mine. So it just makes it like feel more dynamic when it's coming into view. So I'm going to shrink all these ones to let's say 16. Yes, not 16, 14. Okay. So I think this is cool. I think this is cool. So what's going to happen is that in the next frame, this is going to grow and then this one is going to shrink. So we're just going to create all those different variations of that this particular element. So I'm going to come here, create a variation of it. So in this variation, so this is where I need to lose the auto layout because the auto layout is no longer serving. If I want to try and mess with the like move this one to the middle, it's going to be a bit messy. So I'm going to uh shrink the size now to 12. Shrink the size to 12. And the next one, the this font size here, so 28. So 28. Okay, but because I have it on an auto layout group, there's no way for me to properly move it into this. So I want to move it to be inside of this main value box. So what I want to do is to add a color to the main value box so you can actually see what's going on. So I'm going to add a fill color, make it red so you can see what's going on. Okay, then the next thing is to remove the auto layouts on them. So I'm going to remove the auto layouts minus so I can actually move things freely. Do I need to? I think I could have still had them in auto layouts group and still be able to move things around freely. I think you know what, it's fine. Let's just do without auto layouts. Let's do without auto layouts. So here I'm going to have this like this. I will come back to move things into place properly, but for now let's just keep going. So here I'm going to make this one, was it 24, 28, 28, okay, and then 12, okay, 28, make 28. Oh boy, this is why auto layout is necessary. This is why it's necessary because if I had to have auto layout now, things will not be resizing anyhow. So let's do 28 regardless. Then we'll resize it properly. Nah, let's use auto layout. Let's use auto layout. So I'm going to add auto layout again. Ugh. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shrink the height to 34 because I want the height to just account for just this thing that's in view. So that's what I'm trying to do. So you can see how it is here. It's how every other one is supposed to actually look. So I'm going to make it the same height as the other ones. I think 34. Yeah, 34 is the height here. Yeah. And then I'm going to make sure it's aligned center. Okay, cool. So I'm going to make this 28. Why is it not resizing properly? Okay, these are messed up. Okay. So the I want to shrink this one down to 12. So 12. Shrink that to 12. And then I want to create another one where in this case this is 28 and then this is 12. Okay, I think we're cool now. So now I think I can actually go and remove the auto layout. So I can just select everything, all of 3 of them, 4 of them rather. Oh, it doesn't work that way. So I need to remove the auto layout on all of them. Remove the auto layouts. I think this one's already done. So here now what I want to do is to click on the frame and then try to like move the big one into view. Make sure it's inside of the frame. So here you can see it's properly inside of the frame. It's centered properly inside of the frame. So that's what you're going to do for the rest. Try and center the major one inside of the frame. Okay, so yeah, that's select this and then I think we're good. Okay, so we're good. So you can see how it's supposed to work. So once I am viewing like the total, this is like the total. Then this is like the completed. This is for the failed, I'll be returned, and then this is for the failed. So I'm going to select all of them and then press clip content so you can clip all the content that's outside of it. And then another thing I want to do, I want to do it now. Okay, I don't think I need to do it now. I think it's when I add to this frame that I would probably do that. Yes, it's when I add to this frame I'll do that. Okay. So, well, I can just do it now and just press this button. You see this button here, this resize to fit. Nope. Nope. No, I was trying to like resize the width so it could fit the content that's been chopped off, but then it's not working. It's going to resize everything both vertically as well. So I don't want that. So what I'm going to do that when I add it to this auto layout group. So I'm going to create a. I don't think I need to create a. I don't think I need to create a component for this one. I could, but then I don't think I need to. So I'm going to copy this one here. Control C. Or let's just do that. It just makes things easier. So create component set. So call this one, okay, default. Call this one for completed. Call this one returned rather. And call this one what's the name? Filled. Okay. So we're good. So I'm going to copy this one now. Copy one, and then paste it in this particular frame here. So I don't think I need one. Just paste it on that. Paste to replace. So paste it to replace that former value that was there. So you're good. So you can then duplicate this one. Let's delete this one. It's no longer relevant. Duplicate this one, and then here you're going to select the main value and then change it to the next one. So completed. So it's 200k. So also make sure that the what's it called, the resizing of the width is set to set to fill container. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. So here you can change the value to be anything. Let's say the completed. Let's call it completed. Okay, let's say the completed fell by minus 10% from last week's value, and then we're going to change this to. Let's just copy the color code from this other one. Where's the color code? Okay. So you can just steal my color codes for your own design or use your own color codes. That's totally fine. So I'm going to select this red here. That's the red. Okay. So this is completed. Then the next one is for the field. So let's call it field. I didn't call this one, so I'm going to call it completed. I think my route would have been using the one I used for myself would have been shorter, but then I already started with the component thing that I could not like go back anymore. Plus, in all honesty, rather, using components actually makes your work like very very easy. Like when you have to like switch things on a granular level. So that's why I think it's going to really help. So let's say this one, failed payments. This is funny because if returned payments are returned for. Let's just say return payments grew by. I don't really think it's a good thing for return payments to be growing, but let's say it grew by 24%. So we're going to make it green. However, I feel like it shouldn't be green. It should actually like be red. It should be red because return payments are not like anything a business wants to have a lot of. So plus 31%. Let's do 31%. Okay, returned. And then for the final one, which is the failed payment. Okay, so here failed payments minus. I feel like failed payments. Okay, let's do red as well. So like there's an alternation: green, red, green, red, green, red. Okay, drop it here, and then it's 4%. Okay. So again, I'm not too particular about like what colors all this growth should be because I feel like if failed payments are what's it called? If there's a fall in failed payments, it should actually be green. But then that's another convention for another day. So failed here, returned here. So what I'm just doing is just to change the main value because I had already set it up as a component. So this main value is already a component. So I'm just going to come here, come to this here, and just change it to field. So I can have the field value there. Here, I can have the returned what's it called? Return value there, and then here the computed value. So the only issue here you can see that it's the these things the value is actually kind of aligned to the left. So I think where I need to solve that is actually here. Align everything to center. Select everything, align them to center. Select everything, align them to center. Everything aligned to the center as well. Okay. I need to also do that here as well. I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can do that here. I think what I need to do is to make the main value not to be. It's very easy. So I'm going to select all the main values and then change it from fill to not fixed width. I wish I could do hog. Okay, it's not auto layout. So this is why auto layout is important. Now I need to go back and start using auto layout on these particular values here. So that's just a whole a lot of problems. So what I can do is just come here and then add auto layouts. But the height, I'm going to shrink the height down to, if I do that, it's not going to mess things up. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Or you know what? Let's just, here, what we're going to do, just detach instances because now I can't seem to edit like the what's the composition of this particular value here. This value is not as, that's not as long as this, as, or you know, I think I could do this. I could click on the individual value here and then press align center. And then I could do, still doesn't work. I could do fill container. It's not filling container. Oh, that's a shame. Okay. So what I want to do now is to, I think I'm trying to think of the best. What I want to do now is to pick the longest, the one that's going to have the longest width, or even I am going to pick like the longest size should be something around, let's see. So because the what do you call it? Because the text are going to be inside of it, so I'm just going to try and measure like the space is going to take, and then give all of them that particular sizing. So I think let's just do 160 for good measure. Let's do 160. So I'm going to go back to this, all these main values, select all of them, and then make it the width uniform 160. And then I'm going to make sure I align everything inside of the frame. Align everything inside of the frame. Feel, this is more work than I imagined. It's way more work than I imagined. Okay. So I just want to make sure that in every frame it's the text show up in there centralized. So you can see nights become centralized. That's what I was trying to go for, centralized. I actually need to make all the text inside of it centralized. If not, they're going to be popping out from weird angles. So centralized. Align vertical, I think it's align vertical. Center, horizontal center, rather. So for all the different states, I'm going to do this for each one of them. It's long work, but then if I had planned better, I would not have run into this particular problem I'm currently facing now. So yep, I have that done. Then this one next. So you can see that the 40K is somewhere here. So if I align center, it's going to go to center. Align center. I feel like I might still run into some problems later on, but then for now, let's try to solve the one I think we know. So align center for all of them. It's long work. I think there could be a more efficient way for me to have done it, but then I can't think of any more efficient way right now without we start wasting time. So I'm trying to like get this done as fast as possible. So with this done, I want to copy just this one, this first one, the default one, Control C. And okay, now I want to like start copying like I want to build my charts now. So I want to copy this just default ones. Copy this, copy the just default ones, and then start placing things together, start merging things together. So for this one, I want to select both of them and then press Shift A. You can choose to not use Shift. You can actually use what's it called. Let's align them vertically and centrally. So have them selected and then press align vertical centers, align horizontal centers. So it's in the text is in the middle of it. So with this done, I also think I want to also make the width fixed as well. So the width I said should have been 160. So here, make the width 160. So you can see that here also adjusts accordingly. So I'm going to select everything, align centers, align vertical and horizontal. So you can see it's in the middle of the frame. So the next thing I want to do now is to now frame them. So frame selection. Okay, so I'm going to call this one pi donut charts. You can call it donut chart with values or something. Just give it a contextual name. So this one, I'm going to align it to the, select both of them, align the vertical centers, and then something I want to also, okay, and I can just then make the spacing between them to be, I think mine was like 40 or thereabout. Okay, so I can now auto layout them. So selecting both of them, I can auto layout them. So Shift A. So what I want to do is to make the horizontal padding 40. So I can now add like a fill to it. So you can see that we have our graph built out like this. It was a long process of building multiple items, but then finally we're able to arrive at the graph. So what we want to do next, is to make this graph work as a functional, like a unit that's functioning together. So to do that, we have to actually start creating. We have to make this we have to create variants of this. We have to make the component and then create variants of it. So make the component and then add a variant. So the variant here, to make the why you're going to see why all the what do you call them, all the components we've been creating and why they are relevant in this case. So you can easily go down. Okay, let's add to this variance group first, and then we're going to call this one. We're going to call it completed. Okay, so here I want to select down. I want to make sure I select the donut chart itself, and then switch it from default to completed. So I have the completed side of things, and then the data as well, switch it from default to completed. So you can set data just accordingly, and then the legend switch from default to complete. I feel like there should be like a universal control for this. Can I have a universal control? I don't think there's a universal control for the components inside. So I have to go inside of them manually and then change all the components. So property 3, okay, I'm going to call this one returned. I really hope I'm to type this. I really hope it works because I didn't do it the way I did mine. So I hope it works. Else I'll have to shoot this video all over again and do it the way I did mine. So donut charts. I'm going to select donut charts. Donut chart components. Change it from donut charts. Something getting mixed up. Okay, the data I'm going to select oh boy. So select returned. So I made a return. I think I made a mistake in naming. Well, no problem. So returned. Okay. And on the legend, switch it to returned as well. And then one more. Duplicate. Switch this one to name it what's the word failed. Okay. And then go to the data, switch it to failed, switch it to not chart to failed, and then switch the legend itself to failed as well. So we have the interactive. Let's now call this one interactive chart. Okay, so we can now start building. So let's even add this to like let's add it to a presentation page. So we can preview like this. Just duplicate outside and then press. Okay, press that needs to add at least one. Okay, you need to add it into a frame. So we need to create a frame first. So the frame I like using is Ctrl C, Ctrl V, just drop into this frame, drop it into any frame of your choice really. But basically the frame, how I created the frame, let me show you how. It's just to click on the prototype, press Shift A to create a frame, a auto frame already, and then add a padding of, let's say, 80 for the top padding, 80 for the left padding. They add a fill. So on this one, I'm going to just add like a stroke. Add a stroke, or I should add a stroke here really. So I'm going to select all the interactive charts and then add a stroke. So I think my stroke color, let me check. So you can copy my stroke color, you can copy these colors, so you can use in your design. I don't want to have to build out the entire thing again. I'm going to copy the stroke color and also the drop shadow as well. Drop shadow. 40. Sorry, I'm trying to copy the stroke color and drop shadow. Okay, should have pasted it here. Did you paste it? Okay, you did. Why is it not showing? Okay. Okay. I think our work is messed up, so I'm going to copy this one and then paste it here and add a stroke of E64 instead of copying and pasting properties. I'm going to add a stroke to it. Or better still, let's just make the background color like a subtle gray instead of the harsh one we're using. I'm going to make it a gray. I think I like the gray I was using here. Okay. So I just want to make it a nice so you can actually see the chart itself. So you can use any color for yours, but then I'm just trying to see and also I'm going to round the corners up a bit. So I'm going to come to interactive chart component, then round the corners to like 16. Let's do 16. 16 and then clip content. Yeah. Why is it not rounding here? Control C and then paste to replace. Okay, because I want it to have the rounded corners. Okay, so now I can click on this frame and then play this frame. So I can see how my components will look. So I can press Z to scale it up. So Z is going to scale it up, fill my screen. So you can see that nothing is happening currently because I've not added any prototype wires to it. So I'll start going to do that and then you can see how the thing actually changes in real time. So let's go to this section. So you remember that when we're creating the donut chart, we selected we added trigger area. So those trigger areas now is what we're going to go and select. So for the first one, we're going to select trigger area for the main, for the completed segment. So I'm going to press this button. See this button here? Select matching layers. I'm going to click on it. So it's going to select all the matching layers because I need to select all the matching layers on all the other states as well to be able to make it work seamlessly. So I'm going to do that. And then here, what I want to do is this is where it gets tricky, so try and pay attention. So here, I'm going to hold shift. You can see that as I press that button, when I pressed this button here, I selected the layer here, and I pressed this button here, it selected these other layers. They selected the trigger areas on these other frames as well. However, I don't want, because what I want to do is I want to make sure that when I hover over this section, this trigger area on any of these states, it comes to this state. So I don't need to wire this prototype to itself again. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to hold shift, deselect, and press click on it to deselect. So you can see that particular one has been selected, and then I see have these three selected as well. So what I want to do now is to go to prototype mode and then press plus on the interaction. So on this interaction, what I want to do is to still press plus. Okay, change from on click to while hovering, and then set this option here to change to, and then here you're going to set the property to completed. Yes, completed. Okay, so you can see the wires, all the wires are pointing you to completed. So I don't think I want while hovering. Is it while hovering I used for mine? I think they were giving me issues, so I had to change so I need to check to be sure to be sure of which I was using where. Okay, mouse enter, not while hovering. So while hovering has some weird effect. So I don't want while hovering. So I want to change it to mouse enter. Yes. So mouse enter. And then from this option, he wants to change from instant to smart animate. So we are done with creating the interaction for this what's it called, for this particular state. So let's see if it works. I hope to God that it works. So you can see that it works, but then it doesn't go back because we've not set like a mouse leave state. So we have to set a mouse leave state or a mouse leave interaction, prototype interaction to it. So yeah, it works. So you can see that we have to do the same for the other powers. But then let's continue with creating a this same interaction I just did for the other ones as well. So I'm going to select the trigger area for the return segment. I'm going to press the button here, select matching layers, select all the matching layers. But then I'm going to go to the one that has like the finals, the states which this is supposed to lead you to, which is this returned card here. I'm going to hold shift and press and click on it to select it. So I have just this other one selected except exempting this one. So I'm going to press plus on interactions, change from on click to mouse enter, change this one to change it to returned. So you can see all the wires lead you here to the returned card. Okay. So here what I want to do next is change it from instant to smart animates. I'm not messing with the values. You can mess with your values. It depends on what you want to achieve, what effect you want to achieve. So yeah, this works for me. The first one works for me. So with that done, I'm going to do the same for the returned, for the field rather. Select the field trigger area, select matching layers, and then go to the actual state where it leads, and then click on it to deselect, and then press plus, and then change it from on click to mouse enter. Don't add a delay. Change to, and then select field. So you can see all the wires lead you to field, and then change from instance to smart animate. So with that, you're done. So if we were to go, you can see it works. It works. Although we've not added like a mouse exit. So if we move our mouse, it will just stay there. So that's the last thing we need to actually do. So you can see that this thing is acting wonky, but I don't think I can actually solve that in this particular tutorial. This one is starting to act wonky because this now it should be scaling up and down. Oh well, that's totally fine. So let's add a what's it called, interaction for how it's supposed to, what behavior is supposed to do when we remove our mouse from it. So what we're going to do here is select, go to each state. So we're going to go to the return state. So this is the return state now, or the completed state rather. Select the trigger area and drag it to the default state. So it leads you to default. So change from on click to mouse leave, and then change it to okay. Yeah, this works. Yeah, mouse leave. So add a delay. I think I found adding a delay like just helps you, just gives you like this sort of animation. So you may not really see the difference. For me, I like adding a delay. I think my delay was let me see. 100 milliseconds. Okay. So I'm going to do the same here. Add a delay of 100 milliseconds. Now once I leave, it doesn't just instantly like it doesn't instantly like aggressively go back to default what's it called, go back to default state. There's still some small time for the user to be able to click on another what's it called, another cell. So that's just why I'm adding a delay. Okay, so mouse leave. Okay, then I'm going to come here, select this one, select the what's it called, trigger area for this one, and then move it to here, change from on click to mouse leave. I think that's that, and then same for this one as well. Drag it to default states, and then mouse leave. Add a delay. I think I did add a delay for the other one, so 100 milliseconds. So I'm going to come here, click on this one. Okay, so I didn't add a delay, so I'm going to add a delay here. So let's see how it all works all together. So you can see it works fine. As I leave, it goes back to, if I were to come here and leave, it goes back to default state. So that's just what you want to have doing. So the only thing I think we I still have issues with is this text. The way the text is messing up, and I feel like the reason for that is because of the way they are aligned. So I'm going to go and I'm just going to go and check them. Just going to check them just so we can have like a perfect tutorial. So let me go and check them. I'm going to go to components here. This component, the data component here. I'm going to go to select the main value elements. Okay, everything is aligned properly here. So you can see everything is aligned in the center. So I'm going to come here, select everything, or press everything is aligned centrally. Okay. So where is the issue coming from? Everything is aligned centrally as well. Okay, everything's aligned centrally there. So where is the problem coming from? Everything is aligned, seems aligned from centrally. What could be the problem? 40k. Okay. So I'm just trying to see what exactly is wrong and what could be the possible issue. I'm seeing like just a tiny, just a tiny glitch. I'm seeing just a tiny glitch in the way they are moving up and down, and I think that's kind of problematic. But regardless, I feel like let's just ignore that one for now. I don't think it's too much of a problem. I don't think it's much. Is it okay? Okay, you know what we're going to do? What I'm going to do is to also come to the other state. So make sure that in any state, all the elements that are outside are invisible. So I'm going to turn the opacity down to 0 of the other ones outside. So select everything inside the frame, excluding the one that's in the middle, and then turn the opacity down for the others. So I'm going to do the same everywhere. So 101k, opacity down to 0. Here I have 40 selected, turn the opacity down to 0. So I'm just going to set everything down to click content again. So hopefully this is a more subtle interaction. Yeah, so I feel like this feels a lot more smoother than the other one at that time. So the other one was happening like a bit too fast. And another problem as well is that, to be honest, they are not in an auto layout group. So I'm going to make them an auto layout group. So this is the part of my design where I try to find solutions to what may be going wrong with my designs. If something is actually going wrong. If I want to make this one auto layout, I think it's going to not. You know what? For this particular tutorial, let's leave this error. Let's leave this. Whatever I feel maybe the error, I feel like it's just in my mind's eye. So we've been able to achieve like the overall result. So I don't think this should be a problem. Should really be a problem. I think so. Okay. So that's just the last one. So you can see it works, and we've been able to cover how to do this from scratch, how to create the different components. Although I feel like this was a longer route, but it was a more effective route, because if you're dealing with lots of data that you want to edit on a granular level, components are going to be better for you to be able to just come to the particular component and then edit stuff. So if I want to change completed here, I could just come to this section here and then change completed into, okay, come here and then select completed and then change it to maybe delayed, and it will just implement here as well. So you can see that that's implemented even on the main chart as well. So I think that maybe doing this for if you were working with bigger numbers or bigger what's it called, data to represent, it would have been better to use this method I just did. But overall, we'll be able to achieve the what we set out to achieve, and that's a win in my opinion. So yeah, have fun implementing this, and if you run into any challenges, feel free to reach out to me. I'm also going to drop this particular file in the comments, so you can dig through and then see if there's anything you can actually make out of anything that can help you while trying to implement yours. So have fun and see you next tutorial. Take care.